All right, good morning. Hello, everybody. I'd like to welcome you all here to the United States Environmental Protection Agency. I'm Sarah Dunham. I'm the Director of the Office of Transportation and Air Quality here at US EPA, and I'd like to welcome you all. It is an honor for me to be here today because in just a few minutes, Administrator Regan will be announcing not one, but two actions that propose new, more ambitious federal emission standards for light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicles for model year 2027 and beyond. These rules will provide the regulatory foundation for years to come to continue to incentivize the significant investments being made by industry across the entire on-road sector, resulting in enormous reductions in harmful air pollution. And the levels of ambition we are looking at in these rules are clearly enabled by the historic investments made through the Bipartisan Implementation Law and the Inflation Reduction Act. Those of us at EPA who are lucky to be working on these rules understand the responsibility that we have. We understand the pressing environmental need and the opportunities provided by the significant ongoing investments in clean transportation by industry and by Congress. And we have heard the administrator's challenge to follow the science and the law and to deliver on the promise of the Clean Air Act to the American public. Last week marked my 25th anniversary working for EPA, and as many of you have heard before, it has been a privilege for me every day to work side by side with the career professionals at the agency who bring passion, commitment to the agency's mission, and integrity to their work. Having the opportunity to work on both of these rules being announced today is the honor of a lifetime. But we also know that this is just one milestone that we have reached today and the beginning of much more. While these proposals have been shaped and informed by leadership from states, industry, labor and environmental organizations, communities experiencing impacts from air pollution and climate change, as well as our colleagues across the federal government, by many, many meetings and technical exchanges and thousands of hours of work from dozens and dozens of agency professionals across our technical, policy, legal, communications, and administrative support teams, there is much more to come. In fact, one of the major goals of these proposals is to open the door to engagement so we can learn from stakeholders and land durable rules that deliver on the public health promise to the American public. President Biden and Administrator Regan have laid out a powerful long-term vision for putting the transportation sector on a path toward zero emissions. We believe these rules announced today reflect that long-term vision and create the foundation and support needed to achieve that vision. Thank you again to my colleagues in the Office of Air and Radiation and across the agency, and to Administrator Regan for leading us to this moment. It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Shelley Francis, co-founder and managing partner of EV Noir.
Thank you, Sarah. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm Dr. Shelley Francis, co-founder and managing partner at EV Noir. I am an EV driver. I'm the first African-American woman to serve as a national board director of the Electric Vehicle Association, and I'm a public health expert. Prior to founding EV Noir, I was a medical school professor studying environmental health disparities. I lead a team of professionals working on multimodal, electric, connected, shared, and autonomous mobility solutions. Our work centers on e-mobility best practice and e-mobility diversity, equity, and inclusion. I am also the co-founder of EV Hybrid Noir, a national 501c3 that's the nation's largest network of diverse EV drivers and enthusiasts with thousands of members across the country. As an EV driver of color, it was important to develop a community that is the voice of diverse drivers and that represents groups that are often underrepresented. That is why I'm so excited to be here with you on this historic day to share why strong vehicle emissions rules are critically important to achieving an equitable, clean future for communities nationwide. The transportation sector has been the backbone of the American economy. It's the way we move people, goods, and services, and it impacts our daily lives by representing access to healthcare, education, good-paying jobs, and economic inclusion. Unfortunately, we are confronting a deeply inequitable transportation system that reflects winners as well as losers that were chosen decades ago. Recent data indicate that in the United States, people of color are almost 4 times more likely than white people to live in a county with 3 failing grades for air quality. An estimated 30 to 45% of people in North American cities live or work near enough to a busy roadway to experience significantly higher levels of pollution. Under-resourced and low-income communities often bear a disproportionate burden of transportation emissions because many major transportation facilities are located in and around their neighborhoods. So correcting the past and current inequities means addressing our transportation emissions swiftly and seriously. The strongest possible light to heavy duty vehicle rules is one important solution for pollution in our communities, our ecosystems, and our planet. EV Noir's own research in collaboration with partners has demonstrated that diverse communities across the United States are ready and excited to be part of a zero transportation future. The historic investments in zero emissions transportation and infrastructure means the creations of millions of green jobs. Currently, there are more jobs than qualified people. That's why we created the first e-mobility fellowship program to diversify the clean transportation sector with students from historically Black colleges and universities, Hispanic serving institutions, and minority serving institutions from across the country. So in closing, I want to leave you with this message. First, now is the time to accelerate clean transportation. Second, increasing access to clean transportation is a life and death matter for many communities that have been disproportionately impacted by transportation emissions. And third, we need your continued support to enact stricter emission standards. So we applaud Administrator Regan and his team, as well as the Biden administration, for taking vehicle pollution seriously and hitting the accelerator on strong vehicle standards. And we look forward to working alongside them to realize a cleaner, greener future for all communities. So thank you. And now I would like to introduce Mr. Mark St. Furman, and he is an electric bus operator right here in the district.
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Francis, for the introduction, and I'm thrilled to be here today. I am Mark J. St. Furman, a RAP dev and DC circulator professional bus operator and member of the ATU Local 689 here in Washington, D.C. I started working at the circulator in June 2005, when service first began. Over the last 18 years, I have enjoyed transporting passengers to their destination safely. I have met many people from all walks of life and drive thousands of miles across every part of our beautiful city. Members of our community and our public transportation system to help them get to and from work and school every day and get them help, then get them work for essential service such as medical care and grocery stores. I started my career driving diesel buses, but Mayor Bowser and the District Department of Transportation have worked to make our transportation network greener. Last year, I recently began driving an electric bus. Since making the transition, I have noticed a huge improvement in the experience, not only for me as the driver, but also for the passengers. Electric buses are more fuel efficient, better for the environment, and more comfortable for riders and drivers. The DC Circulator electric fleet offers electric outlets and wireless internet access. While continuing our tradition of providing safe, reliable service for residents and visitors to the District of Columbia, I have also heard feedback from passengers that electric buses don't trigger the asthma symptoms near as much. I am looking forward to having more electric buses, trucks, delivery vans, cars, and SUV on the road, and excited for their announcement today. With that, it is my pleasure to introduce Miss Liz Hurtado, a mom with Moms Clean Air Force and her children. Thank you.
I am honored to join you today to talk about the enormous public health benefits that come from reducing tailpipe pollution. As a mother of 4, nothing is more important to me than the health of my children, including Lena, who is standing here with me today. We traveled from Virginia Beach, Virginia, to join you on this momentous day. I'm Liz Hurtado, National Field Manager for Moms Clean Air Force and its Latino engagement program, EcoMadres. We are a community of more than 1.5 million moms, dads, and caretakers united in the fight for clean air and climate action for the sake of our children's health and our futures. I grew up in Lima, Peru, which has some of the worst air pollution in Latin America, so I'm no stranger to the harmful health effects of tailpipe pollution. In the US, Black, Asian, Latino, and low-income communities are more likely to live near truck routes and bear a disproportionately heavy burden from the health harms of tailpipe pollution. This is a profound environmental injustice. Many of my fellow ecomadres face these injustices. Let's take Randy Treviño in Southeast Houston. She and her family face cumulative effects of pollution, from living along the Houston Ship Channel, surrounded by heavy industry, oil refineries, and trucking routes. Or take Mercedes McKinley. Her home in Las Vegas is located so close to a major highway, which is used by both locals and a number of big rigs that move throughout the Southwest. Thank you. As a mother of a toddler, she worries about her daughter's developing lungs. And then there's Ana Rios, who is raising a young family in Albuquerque, less than 1 mile away from an interstate highway, near a railroad, and a few steps from a heavy-duty truck company, where trucks are pulling in and out every hour. Based on where they live, Erandi, Mercedes, and Ana have a shared concern for their family's health, the threat to their lungs, brains, and hearts. We know that cutting air pollution from cars and trucks drastically reduces trips to the emergency room due to asthma attacks. And it also reduces the number of older adults who struggle with lung disease and other chronic conditions. These reductions greatly improve our family's quality of life. It's why today's news is both good and hopeful. The EPA has made an important and historic step forward toward cleaning up toxic pollution from cars and trucks. And moms around the country are celebrating this transformative movement. Why? Because strong tailpipe standards will accelerate our transition to zero-emission vehicles, resulting in cleaner air and less climate pollution. Today, we are also celebrating all the health gains that will come from electrifying our transportation sector. It's why I hope that tonight, my fellow ecomadres, Erandi, Mercedes, and Ana, and everyone across the US can sleep a little bit better, knowing that long overdue protections are coming. We're closer than ever to reducing the health risks that come with living near transportation hubs. Today, we set a new standard for health equity as we advance solutions to the climate crisis. Our work is far from done, but we are making meaningful progress. On behalf of our members across the country, we thank you, Administrator Reagan. We salute your steadfast leadership. We urge you to keep your foot firmly on the accelerator when it comes to strengthening pollution standards. And please remember this, we parents will always have your back, and we look forward to working together to protect our children and stabilize our climate. Now, let's get the job done. And I introduce Lena.
Hi, I'm Lena. I'm a 4th grader from Virginia Beach, Virginia. As my stepmom said, tailpipe pollution is dangerous for kids' health and terrible for our environment. That's why I'm really happy that the EPA is helping to put cleaner cars and trucks on our roads. This is something kids approve. It is now my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, EPA Administrator Michael Regan.
Awesome, baby. Thank you so much.
Let's give it up for Liz and Lena. I don't know who has me following Lena on my staff, but you're going to pay for that. Thank you, Lena, for that wonderful introduction. Before we get started, I'd just like to say a brief word about the fire in Richmond, Indiana. And I want to let everyone know that we're working closely with our state and local partners. EPA was on site within hours of the fire, and overnight we began monitoring at 15 mobile monitoring locations. Today, the EPA team is on the ground and will collect debris samples in surrounding communities to determine whether asbestos-containing materials may have left the site. So we're following the situation very closely, and we'll continue to provide the community with any assistance that they need. Protecting the health and safety of all of our communities across the country is what we do best, and that's exactly why we're here today. I want to give a thank you to our EPA team. I want to thank Joe Goffman for his leadership, Ale Nunez for her leadership, and a very special thank you to Sarah for giving this agency 25 years. You know, I also want to thank the automobile, environmental, and labor leaders for joining us here today. Thank you all for fighting so passionately for a cleaner, healthier, safer future for all. When President Biden took office, he launched the most ambitious climate agenda in United States history, vowing to restore America's leadership both abroad and here at home. In every corner of this country, Americans are seeing and feeling the devastating impacts that the climate crisis is delivering firsthand. From the farmers grappling with droughts that are becoming more frequent and more intense, to families who are fleeing their homes because of catastrophic flooding or uncontrollable wildfires. In small towns, big cities, rural and suburban communities, folks can feel the weight and the urgency the climate crisis demands. And at EPA, we have the responsibility to meet that urgency with action. That's why today, I'm pleased to announce that EPA is proposing the strongest ever federal pollution technology standards for both cars and trucks. Together, today's actions will accelerate our ongoing transition to a clean vehicles future, tackle the climate crisis head-on, and improve air quality for communities all across the country. Light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicles are some of the biggest contributors to greenhouse gas pollution. The first set of proposed standards focus on light and medium-duty vehicles. It builds on EPA's existing standards for passenger cars and light trucks for model years 2023 through 2026. EPA estimates that this proposal would reduce our cumulative CO2 emissions by 7.3 billion metric tons from the years 2027 through 2055. That's equivalent to eliminating all greenhouse gas emissions from the entire current United States transportation sector for 4 years. Overall, projected benefits could reach $1.6 trillion. The second set of proposed standards would apply to heavy-duty vocational vehicles, such as delivery trucks, dump trucks, public utility trucks, transit, school buses, and more. The proposed standards are the final pieces of EPA's Clean Trucks Plan and will complement the heavy-duty nitrogen oxide standards we established last December. Like the light and medium-duty proposal, the heavy-duty proposal uses performance-based technology standards that enable manufacturers to achieve compliance efficiently based on the composition of their fleets. EPA estimates that this second proposal would reduce vehicle emissions of CO2 by 1.8 billion metric tons from the years 2027 through 2055. Overall, the projected net benefits of the heavy-duty proposal could reach $320 billion. So folks, that's close to $2 trillion in net benefits and over 10 billion tons of CO2 emissions avoided. This is historic news. This is historic news for our children, It's historic news for our climate. It's historic news for our future. And for me, like Liz, this is personal. I'm delighted to see so many children in the audience today. And I want to let Lena know that EPA, me, and all of us, we're fighting for your future. As a father of a 9-year-old, I can assure you that there's no greater priority for me than protecting the health and well-being of our children, ensuring that they have a safe, healthy, and reliable future. New technology standards will help us to meet the international commitments for combating the climate crisis, while improving air quality for communities all across the country, especially our communities that have long borne the burden of air pollution. Reductions in greenhouse gas emissions mean cleaner air and less pollution. It means less time away from work and school and increased focus and productivity for Americans all across this country. It means less sickness, and it means healthier Americans. That's why President Biden's historic investment that's what President Biden's historic investment in America is all about. And that's what these technology standards, when finalized, will deliver. Since I became EPA administrator, I've made it clear that engagement is key to delivering on all of our collective goals. Today's proposals are informed by a robust and inclusive stakeholder process from the automobile industry, the labor group industry, and environmental organizations as well. As we further develop these technology standards that pertain to clean transportation, I'm committed to moving forward collaboratively with all of our stakeholders. I'm grateful to all of us, and especially those of you who have helped us to get to this moment. I want to thank again EPA's phenomenal staff who work tirelessly night and day. I want to thank the advocates and organizations who've been fighting for decades. Please continue to help us. Please continue to fight for clean air and healthier communities, because your work has been pivotal in our progress so far. And I want to let everybody know that this EPA is committed to protecting the health and well-being of every single person on this planet, while ensuring that all people, no matter the color of your skin, how much money you have in your pocket, or your zip code, have clean air to breathe, clean water to drink, and the opportunity to live a healthy and viable life. And every single day, I can report to you we're one step closer to achieving that goal. So thank you all for being here today. And with that, we'll open it up to press and take a few questions.
All right, folks, I have the mic back here in the press area. So any reporters with questions, come back this way. Great.
All right, all right, good. This is on. All right. So Basil John with Nexstar. So we want to know, with this announcement that's come through, can you realistically reach this goal in 9 years? It's a very large projection of reaching that 2/3 when it's not even at 10% right now.
I believe we can. And I believe that because we're following the market trends. Listen, over the last 2 years, over $120 billion of private sector investment in electric vehicles and batteries. I believe it because when I look at the projections that many in the automobile industry have made, this is the future. The consumer demand is there, the markets are enabling it, the technologies are enabling it. And I have to say, you know, this isn't something that we just started yesterday. This has been part of President Biden's vision from day one. When you look at the billions of dollars invested in electric vehicle charging infrastructure in this country, over 500 charging stations from the bipartisan infrastructure law. When you look at the CHIPS and Science Act, billions of dollars to invest in manufacturing right here at home. The $7,500 tax credit in the Inflation Reduction Act. We're rowing in the same direction. And so I do believe that we can achieve this goal. But as I said earlier, it won't be achieved unless we work with all of our stakeholders to get there. And that's what we plan to do over the process.
Jennifer Deloe with Bloomberg News. Administrator, I'm wondering how you respond to critics who say the rule doesn't align with the Biden administration's, the heavy-duty rule, doesn't align with the Biden administration's commitment to 100% zero-emission truck sales by 2040?
I think it puts us on the trajectory to meet all of the targets that we've set out. What we have to do and what we have done in this proposal is we've done the modeling, we've looked at the technical feasibility, and we've looked at it in the years that we feel the most confident in, which is through 2032, but we're taking comment through 2035 as well. So listen, I think we're on target. I feel that we're on track, but this proposal and this comment period will help us to ensure that we get there together.
Thanks, Administrator Dave Shepardson from Reuters. Do you think this rule, as Republican critics say, will effectively end the internal combustion engine? I mean, do you see, after 2035, automakers still selling new ICE vehicles, or do you think these rules are so strict that it will effectively push OEMs toward EVs out of the ICE business?
I think that this proposal relies on the tradition, the 40-year tradition that we've always held to set technology-based standards. This creates a conversation for hydrogen fuel cells, electric vehicles. We can look at different variations of new fuel sources that we might have moving forward. I think we're giving the automobile industry options to choose from. And so when we look at this proposal and the opportunities to reach the very ambitious goals that we've set, we're not prescribing any mandates. And we're not driving any particular technology out of business, so to speak. I think we're giving the markets and the automobile industry and the private sector the options to choose on how we best move forward to reach these very, very, very ambitious climate goals that we must reach if we are to protect this planet and to ensure the health and safety of all of our children.
Stetson Miller with Gray Television. Will you be providing any additional incentives to promote the adoption of electric vehicles for consumers with this rule?
I think what we're doing is we're partnering very strategically with all of the incentives that have been placed in 3 pieces of historic legislation led by President Biden, and that's the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, the CHIPS and Science Act, and the Inflation Reduction Act. There are tax incentives, there are infrastructure incentives. We're doing a great job, in my opinion, of marrying regulation with historic incentives that have been laid out there. And listen, this is going to be done in concert and in conversations with our environmental justice communities, our environmental communities, our automobile stakeholders, and the labor workforce as well. We're going to try to align all of these forces with markets and technology to achieve these goals. And at the end of this, it will ensure American leadership in the world in terms of leading on technology and transportation and protecting the planet and human health. So this is a great deal for this country.
Thanks, Administrator. Grady Trimble with Fox Business. As I'm sure you know, most EV batteries right now are produced in China. So how do you balance the administration's climate goals while also trying to achieve its goal of reducing reliance on China?
That's a great question, and so we look at it in twofold. We have to walk and chew gum at the same time. This proposal doesn't kick in till model year 2027. So we've got some years to ramp up. We hope that we can take advantage of that runway and follow the investments of historic legislation to bring manufacturing, especially battery manufacturing, back here domestically. It's our goal that we don't overly rely on any countries. It's our goal that we are more competitive and don't rely solely on China for batteries and for solar technology and the like. And in the meanwhile, when you look at the benefits of this proposal from an energy security standpoint, this will reduce our dependency on foreign oil imports about 20 billion barrels of oil. So what we're doing is we're strengthening our energy security, we're reducing our reliance on foreign oil, we're reducing our reliance on fossil fuels and harmful pollution, but we're also encouraging significant opportunities for job growth and manufacturing back here domestically while we win the 21st century with this technology competition.
Folks, that's all the time we have for questions. Please send any follow-ups to press@epa.gov. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.